So this morning I want to talk about a challenging topic for most of us, and that is our mortality. And the Buddha spent a lot of time looking at this. And the contemplation of our mortality is not only a philosophical exercise, but in Buddhism, it's a practical tool for freedom. Most of us don't particularly like thinking about our mortality. The ego doesn't like to imagine not existing anymore. So we tend to sort of keep, looking the other way from it. We find countless ways to avoid thinking about it, engage in all kinds of distractions, denial, superstitious behaviors to avoid thinking about our own death. And the Buddha recognized this tendency, and he encouraged his monks, his followers, to reflect on impermanence and the inevitability of death as a means not of dread, but as a means to cultivate wisdom, cultivate freedom, and appreciate each precious day. If it's looming out there and we acknowledge it, it really helps us focus on the present moment. The statement, freedom comes from embracing our mortality, really aligns with the Buddha's teachings, particularly the teachings of staying mindful, and understanding the true nature of existence. You remember that he taught that all conditioned, meaning everything, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. And this, of course, includes our relationships, our possessions, our thoughts, our emotions, and certainly our bodies. And he emphasized, as you know, because we talk about it here all the time, that clinging to impermanent things leads to suffering. And this, of course, includes ourselves, our bodies, our physical presence. And by embracing or turning and looking at or facing our mortality, we confront the ultimate impermanence in our lives. The fact that our lives, as we know them, will inevitably end. And let me be clear, sometimes say, oh, you Buddhists are so morbid, you're always focusing on death. This realization is not meant to provoke despair. Rather, it is to inspire a deeper appreciation for the present moment and the reorientation of our priorities. Coming to terms with the inevitability of death, it's an inescapable fact of our existence, can help teach us to live more fully in the here and now. If we just are on autopilot, we don't think about it, we just sort of coast through life, we really miss the beauty and the awe of each moment. This echoes the Buddhist practice of mindfulness, where we learn to be fully present and we learn to be aware of the fleeting nature of each moment. When we accept that life is finite, it frees us from the illusion of permanence and the anxiety that comes from trying to hold on to that which cannot be held. Let me repeat that. When we accept that life is finite, we are freed from the illusion of permanence and the anxiety that comes from trying to hold on to that which can't be held. The fear of death usually often stems from attachment, the ego's attachment to our identity and everything about us, everything around us, but certainly our identity. The ego is very fierce in attaching to that. And Buddhism teaches us that true freedom arises when we let go of these attachments, and that includes the sense of a permanent ego. It does not mean we abandon our responsibilities or relationship, but it means we approach things with a sense of non-clinging. When we embrace our mortality, we recognize that nothing truly belongs to us, not even these bodies. And this understanding, when we really embrace it, can liberate us from constant striving and grasping that characterize so much of the human experience. It has been said that when societal judgments no longer hold sway, we begin to act on our passions without fear. The fear of death transforms into a catalyst for living more fully and authentically. We don't have to buy into the cultural judgments about death being this horrible thing that we have to avoid or not think about. This aligns with the Buddhist concept that our actions within the Dharma, which is the truth of existence, rather than social expectations or ego-driven desires. So we act in alignment with the Dharma, not with these ego-driven desires to have things last forever. You know, in certain Buddhist traditions, there's a meditation called mindfulness of death. You may know about the Tibetan monks that go meditate on the decaying bodies of their fellow monks. And it sounds morbid, it sounds awful, but it involves reflecting on the inevitability of death and the uncertainty of its timing. It puts them right face to face with it. And rather than being morbid, it's meant to awaken a sense of urgency and clarity. Urgency of living each moment fully, not wasting a day. There's a medieval philosopher, Michael de Montaigne, a French philosopher, who observed, quote, "To practice death is to practice freedom. A man who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave," close quotes. To practice death is to practice freedom. A man who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave, close quotes. Excuse me. Similarly, the Buddha taught that by contemplating death, we free ourselves from the delusion of permanence and the fear that binds us to that delusion, which helps us prioritize what truly matters. When we remember that our time is limited, we are less likely to waste it on trivial pursuits or harmful actions. We focus on cultivating values like compassion, wisdom, and generosity that give us peace and fulfillment. We don't waste the time on trivialities. Embracing our mortality not only frees us individually, but it deepens our connections with others. It makes things more real. When we recognize that we all share the same fate, we naturally develop compassion. The Buddha clearly understood that the universality of suffering, including the suffering of the inevitability of death, is the foundation of loving kindness. It makes us want to extend that to ourselves and to others, knowing that we are finite, knowing that our time is limited. Grieving our losses is, of course, natural and normal. Loss triggers sadness and fear that reminds us of life's temporary nature. The fact that everyone and everything we love is passing. We've talked some time ago about the five recollections, the practice that reminds us that everything we love and everyone we love is passing. The shared vulnerability, and it is truly a vulnerability, can inspire us to live with greater kindness and empathy. Embracing our mortality encourages us to live fully in the present moment. You know, the Buddha often compared life to a dewdrop on a blade of grass, beautiful but fleeting. When we accept this truth and really accept it in our gut, not just intellectually, we stop postponing our happiness or waiting for some future moment to bring fulfillment, not knowing whether that future moment is going to come. Instead, we find joy and meaning in the here and now. The fact is, an awareness of our mortality can lead us to behave differently in the moment, in the present. This is the essence of Buddhist practice, to live mindfully with awareness, with gratitude for each moment, knowing that each one is precious and each one is unrepeatable. From a Buddhist perspective, and this is very different than much of Western culture, freedom truly comes from embracing our mortality, not from denying it. By confronting the reality and inevitability of our own death, we free ourselves from the illusions of permanence, and we free ourselves from the illusion that we can control it. This liberation allows us to live authentically, prioritize what matters, who matters to us, and cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. As the Buddha taught, the path to freedom lies not in denying death, but in understanding and accepting it in our gut as an integral part of life. And when we do this, we have the potential to transform our fear of death into this profound gift, this profound appreciation for the gift of existence. So that is the freedom that comes from embracing our own mortality.
Jeff,
Yes,